Hi! You're listening to the Coffee O'Clock podcast, the show that brings you joy and inspiration, with special guests from all around the world who have an amazing story and expertise to evolve your personal and professional life. I am your host, Burcu Onaranet, the founder of Joy Marketing and Coaching. Make sure you grab your coffee and get ready to explore new ideas. Let's get started. Hello everyone, Coffee O'Clock. Today I have a guest that has a very similar background and very powerful story to share. Josine, who is the co-founder and principal of Stratus-Edge. It's very hard for me to say it, but I think I said it right. She is with me here. I want to welcome her and we will talk about how Layoff turned into leading boldly in her life, turning job loss into purpose. That is going to be our topic. So if you have experienced any kind of setbacks in your life, if you got laid off, maybe you're not getting what you want, that could be the way for you to find your real purpose. So that's going to be our topic today. Josine, welcome.
Thank you, and I'm excited to be here and cannot wait to talk more and dig deep into this conversation.
Yes, me too. Especially we have similar backgrounds and also the most importantly, we have the same value, the same core value, which is authenticity. That's what I always aim for, both in my personal and professional life. I'm not saying I am the guru of being authentic, but I do everything intentionally to be and encourage
Hmm.
everyone to be their authentic versions. So I want to start from there. I want to ask you first, what is authentic for you and how did you start implementing it in your life?
I can't see that's a starting point of when I realized that authenticity is where I should be. Part of it is the values with how I was raised. I grew up, I was raised on the Caribbean islands in Vincent and Grenadines. Grew up with a mother whose values were grounded in knowing who she is. Kindness was core to her, being empathetic was core to her, and a father who raised us to believe that we have to know who we are and be steadfast in who we are and understand that and be willing, to stand up for truth. Brothers who, older brothers, I'm fortunate to have older brothers who taught me that, I can lead, I can be true to who I am, and that and they will always have my back. And a sister who taught me that, even in the face of what people thought was impossible, that great things can happen and good things can happen once you have the mindset and you do that. So it was not a starting point. It was not a hope. Hope in authenticity. It's my core value. And as I went through life, that's when I realized that's what it was. And authenticity for me does not mean that, being true to yourself doesn't mean that you don't change, right? Because one of the things to me about being authentic is spending that time in reflection, understanding who you are and how you must adjust to move forward. So I know sometimes, authenticity can, it's not, well, this is who I am, so you have to accept it. It's true about knowing who you are, but it's about also understanding what your core values are, spending that time in reflection and being able to grow.
Beautifully said. It is so true. Being authentic doesn't mean that you are stuck there. And when you change, it doesn't apply to be authentic. It is. And it is actually very important to own every version of yourself. It's the
Absolutely.
it's the meaning of being authentic. You're owning
Exactly.
and you're just showing up as who you are.
Mhm.
I love it, and you're lucky to have brothers who have your back. I know many people who have brothers or sisters, doesn't matter. They don't really get well, they don't get along, they don't just, love each other much.
Mhm.
They escape from each other. So I think you're very fortunate to have
Yeah,
siblings like that. And I'm an only child, so I never understand the meaning of it. I'm sure it's a beautiful thing to have siblings.
it's a beautiful thing.
And
Yeah.
how did you start your career, I know you were in human
Mm-hmm.
resources field for
Mm-hmm.
a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Was it on
Mm-hmm.
purpose? Did you want to be, or was it
It was never on purpose. Actually, those brothers that I talk about, so as I said, I grew up in the Caribbean, and you go through high school and you're able to work at a certain point, and I started to work and was working in some money at 19 and 20, and those brothers that I talk about. Also, part of their job is to put some realism into their youngest sibling, because they're much older than I am. And it was kind of, okay, so what are you going to do now? It's
Mhm.
time for you to go and further your studies. And so I did that. I went to Howard University and I did human development without a clue of what I'm going to do with this degree. Went back to St. Vincent's, and I started to do some research on what I wanted to do. Then I ended up at the University of Minnesota studying human resources development and realized, oh my gosh, this is it. This is a way to work with people, to guide and to lead. And so that's kind of how I started off. And I started off at an entry level role within HR, and have loved every moment. But my most, the pieces that I really love is when I get to, interact directly with leaders, that came later in my career, help them to build strong teams and see those teams just prosper and lean on each other. And, that to me is what human resources is about.
And then you spent decades in human resources, leadership development,
Mm-hmm.
organizational strategy,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
working with executives across industries,
Mm-hmm.
building strong teams. It's a phenomenal job and experience.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure you've
Mm-hmm.
come across so many difficult conversations, difficult situations as well. And
Mm-hmm.
I know recently something unexpected happened in your life that made you who you are today. I want to leave it up to you. Do you want to talk about the layoff first, or do you want to talk about
Sure.
who you are today and the transition and everything around that?
Sure. Sure. So I was laid off in mid-September. So I had taken a few days off, and I was going back to work. And I think it was probably my first day back or second day, I can't remember. And I got a call, and I didn't, people have asked me, and even today, people will say, well, did you expect it? Is it, and it's something that I can't, maybe, and I will say to people, maybe not. And so, long story, I was laid off. So after the shock and the immediate, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? Again, I have a father who taught us not to dwell, a mom who said, you can't fix the past, you have to think about how you move forward. And so I sat in stillness for a little bit because I had to compose myself. And I was going to talk to my husband and call just a few friends and relatives. And so I talked to my husband, had that conversation, trying to hold myself together. And then I called three people right away. One of those persons is I called her my sister niece because we are 6 months apart. She's 6 months older than I am. So we grew up as sisters, but she's actually my niece. And I called her and, she listened and she was still. And then she said, first of all, I want to say I'm sorry for what happened to you. And then she said, secondly, I want to remind you that you've always wanted to start your own consulting agency. And this is the time. I know that I will be there for you. That was the conversation we had. Then, in the tears, I also said to her, I had a trip planned, that I've already paid for. And I love cruising, the water, love being on the water. It's my peaceful place. And she said, you will take the trip because take that trip, come back. And so I did. it was the best decision I made, so that's just being still and just seeing, again, one of the things I love about cruising is being on that open water and just realizing the vastness of the ocean. And sometimes, the biggest problems we think we have in life, the ocean just dwarfs, because you look at the ocean as dwarfing these huge ships that you're on. And so I came back ready with purpose. And I knew, yeah, this is it. This is what I'm going to step into. And prior to taking that trip, I had called, some people come into your lives that, in ways that you didn't, and show up differently than they initially entered your life.
Mm-hmm.
And the person who co-founded Stratus-Edge with me came into my life is just about a year ago for a different reason. And we were doing it, having a different conversation about something we wanted to do. And she's one of those persons that I called. And I said to her, Noelle, kind of here's the situation. We were planning to do these things. Kind of her her response was just let me know what you need from me. I'll be here. So I have been fortunate to have those people who gave me the space and who said I'll be here. And so when I came back, I thought about transition and renewal and what does this mean for me? And the difficulty, because I'm not going to say it is not difficult. It does not come with worry about being laid off, about the plans you had and all, everything just comes through. What am I going to do? The bills, the medical, like whatever you can think of, it comes flooding in. And in all that, so I have some folks that I'm connected with who started to send me some job openings. And I looked at one that should have been perfect for me, and there was just this pit in my stomach when I looked at that job. And I go, this is not what I want to do anymore. What I really want to do. And so that solidified it for me. And like, what I really want to do is to lead my own agency, to create something in which I believe and to lean into my purpose. And years and years and years ago, I witnessed something as a child. I witnessed a woman being abused, and with a childish, vision, I had said to myself, yeah, when I grow up, I'm gonna start, I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna make women, economically dependent. So no woman has to go through that again. This was at 10 years old. And, so, that stayed. And then, some of it changed as I got a little bit older in my teens. I wanted to do something where I can help people in developing countries get the skills, and that shifted and changed. But at the core of it and through everything I did was that need to help people, to help people, to help them develop and create something and do things that they didn't realize they could do. And I wrote this article on LinkedIn called Passion Meets Purpose. So my passion is working with people, helping them develop into the best leaders they can. And my purpose is StratosEdge, is leading StratosEdge. And so my passion and purpose finally combined. It just took me some years, some winding path. But again, back to my mother who would always say, Josine, people plan, but God determines the way. She was a woman of faith. And I had a plan. It didn't work out exactly the way I wanted for it to go. But here I am today, living my passion and my purpose.
Love it. Whole your story while listening it. I had goosebumps a couple times because it's just how incredible the universe and God is that when we need something, when we need someone, when we are burnt out, or when we are in a field that we shouldn't be in, or in a place that we shouldn't be living in, or in a relationship, something happens to pull us apart if we don't have the courage to do it. The universe takes care of
Absolutely.
it. So maybe you needed to leave that job maybe decades ago or years ago, but you didn't. And then it happened. And then the person you met a year ago, and now you're working together with the same purpose. And
Mhm.
I just love the story. And I have a similar story too, because when I only had 3 years of experience in human resources, but maybe it was enough for me to burn out and leave. And I remember my dad was telling me, you should get like another job or like do something.
Mhm.
But I was there to I didn't got laid off, but I knew there was not going to be a headcount in my position because in HR, you
Mhm.
know, like when you
Mhm.
know
Yes.
everything, it's
Yes.
like picture is clear for you. Like, okay, there's no future here. And you know
Right.
all the behind scenes, like how people get promoted or what the salaries are, like what's going
Mhm.
on.
Mhm.
So you know everything. So you're like, okay, this isn't going anywhere. And I knew it. So I was like, okay, I need to do something. So anyhow, I really love your purpose today, and you're now helping others to embrace their meaningful change. And what I want to ask you, you've been doing this for only a couple of months, but I can feel
Mhm.
and believe in your energy that this is something you've been doing. Your soul has been doing
Mhm.
this for a long time
Mhm.
because you're
Yes.
already in it. You don't sound like or look like that this is new to you. And the
Right.
universe has been preparing you for this. What is the most difficult thing that you've experienced or maybe still experiencing? Because I want to tell our audience who are experiencing this layoff or career change, there are some difficulties, like you said. What are those that you experienced and how are you overcoming them?
So one of the things I will say, that I think we have to agree, a fact is change is hard, right?
Hmm.
For most of us.
Yes.
I have always embraced change, but this change was hard. This is not something that I chose. It's not like I got up and said, "Okay, this was hard." Um, but I also believe that you can't be reluctant to embrace it, right? So you go through, that reflection. That um, I believe, if you have the right people supporting you, again, you know, one of my best friends in Orlando, she has, she's been pushing me and helping me, and I have all these friends still in Minnesota, all over, and so you have to have that. Um, the doubt is gonna creep in, right? And even for someone, for me, who believes that this is what I was meant to do, initially the doubt crept in. I remember actually having a conversation with Noelle, and she challenging me on certain things, and my co-founder, and that helped me a lot. So sometimes but it is. So what you're going to experience, embrace it. Don't push it away.
Hmm.
Lean into it, and try to understand it. Do the reflection, which I think is really important, and then but be ready to push off. Like, don't stay there. You can't stay there. You have to be ready to push off. Some things that are going to be difficult, is, I live in the US, insurance, right? Medical insurance. How do I get it? How do I stay covered? How do I ensure, there are those real life things that
Hmm.
matters, and that you have to think about how you're going to cover this. Finances, do you still have a mortgage? Do you have kids that going to college? Whatever that is, you have to have a plan. I will say above all, leaning to the people that you have, really good conversations with people that you trust, people who can advise and guide. And the times are, but there will come a time,
Hmm.
So today, as I sit here, we're building something fantastic. I don't have every I dotted and all the T's crossed. I have most of it. Um, but and we've shifted. We've shifted some, and but we've always leaned into what we believe we're meant to do at Stratus-Edge, which is help leaders create the strongest teams, help leaders lead from a people-centered place, putting humans first, helping leaders understand that what they lead is humans and not just roles. And we tweaked some of it. We never let go of that, what we think Stratus-Edge is supposed to be. It's helping people find their human potential. We believe that with all of that, once the systems, because sometimes people focus on the systems, but once you focus on the people, the systems will kind of tell you where they want to shift. So in all the change, I would say, embrace it. It's really hard. Embrace it. I'm not here to say it's going to be easy. Cry if you have to. Throw something if you have to. Meditate, whatever it takes for you. For me, it really, taking that cruise was essential. For me, sitting still, I love the water. Where I am today, I can look out at the water and be still with my cup of coffee. But it's also finding that passion and that purpose. If I had not founded Stratus-Edge, if this wasn't a thing, I don't know if I would have been able to have this conversation with you today, because I could have done anything, right? But it was time for me to step into my purpose and my and my passion. And so I think of passion as being, emotional. It's personal, right? It's emotional. But purpose gives you that direction and helps guide that passion. And I think, if we can find it, change is still going to be hard. But how we come out on the other side of the change is going to be phenomenal and fantastic.
Yes. And you perfectly explained passion and purpose. I feel like they are yin and yang. So it's like one is more feminine, one is more masculine. Yeah. They just go along together. And I am with you on that. And you touched it a little bit what you do today, but I want you to give more explanation to me and to our audience. What do you do today? How do you help people with your co-founder?
Oh, sorry. So today, Stratus-Edge, as I said, we created this consulting agency to work with organizations to help them find their human centeredness. Truly, that is as clear. And what that means for us at Stratus-Edge is that if you look at the people and you first think about that, I was doing a little recording the other day, because I do these little reels, and I was talking about lemongrass. Because where we live, so let's make it an easy example. We have these open fields, and my husband had cut some stalks to put in a vase. I had cut on the edge to make teas and seasoning. Never doing it was the same thing, the same plant. And we had this discussion. I did some research, same plant. Fast forward, I was standing looking at one of the fields across from us. And I was just thinking, this is what I think about of people on teams, right? If leaders just take the time to understand who they have in front of them, to lean in, to question, to care, to understand, and to, they will see that they may have this team that has all the skills and not just one thing, but it's having that conversation and understanding what you need and who your people are. And so Stratus-Edge was truly founded to help leaders look within themselves, to understand who they are, and to lead with always people in mind, and to help them build teams that will be innovative and creative, because they're inclusive. It's a space where everyone can grow, where they can speak freely and understand. So that is kind of Stratus-Edge. So we really help leaders regain their clarity, which I think is important, because there's so much chaos and so much noise. We help them build their confidence and their internal authority. And as I said, so they understand that they're leading humans. So they're not leading scientists or teachers or, front desk clerks or housekeeping. They're leading the people behind those roles. and understanding those people and creating teams that are cohesive and can work together. That's why Stratus-Edge exists.
It needs to exist. Every country, every
Mm-hmm.
field, every
Mm-hmm.
organization needs it, because that's what I experienced even in short of time when I was a human resources specialist in Turkey for 3 years. Then I had a job in the US. That job actually was me practicing my branding and marketing strategies, and I got laid off from that job. So I experienced that, like in the movies. It was like one afternoon, all of a sudden, I had the box in front of me. No, we don't have your position anymore. So I think in the organizations, what's missing is what you exactly shared and what you do at Stratus Edge is that people get caught up with what they need to do to make money or help their clients, but they forget to do for themselves, for their own presence or their own strategies with their people to make them happy and motivated and help them grow. I think this is very important because not everybody will become you or me or famous or soccer player.
Mm-hmm.
They
Mm-hmm.
work at the organizations, and those
Mm-hmm.
organizations need to be healthy. One
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Before we wrap up, I always ask my guests to share if they have upcoming news, events, anything exciting that they are excited about, and also what they are looking for. And then one sentence to leave our audience with.
Wow. Okay. So upcoming, we have a virtual retreat March 26th. There's
Nice.
going to be more information coming out on that, and it's called the Leadership Lab. It truly is about we're heading into spring, and it's about leaders resetting and figuring out kind of who they are and who their team is, and trying to figure out kind of what do they need for themselves and what do their team need. And so it's that spring, when you're renewing and you're pruning your plants and you're
Mhm.
cutting and you're planting and you're re-energizing. And so that is what we have coming. So that's what we have upcoming, the virtual retreat, and then we'll have some other things coming. Folks can follow us on Facebook, on LinkedIn, Instagram, and we have our website, which I'll send to you. But we have our website, so you can follow us there. You can reach out to us and connect with us because we're here for you. One sentence I want to leave the audience with. Wow. Reflection is important. Like I always spend it. So I'll say this. There's these trite sayings, change is inevitable, change happens all the time, and whatever, right? These are easy things to say. Real change is hard, whether we control it, but when we certainly don't control it's really hard. It's important to spend time in reflection and understanding who you are and where you want to go. If it's a change that you need to control, and certainly if it's one that's outside of your control. So just spending that time understanding who you are, whether it's professional or personal, understanding who you are and where you want to go is really, really important. So I believe in reflection. I believe, I look back in 2025 and it was going really well until, third quarter, final quarter. But that stretched me in ways that I didn't expect it to. And and taught me lessons that were important, that I knew, that I thought I forget. So be ready, embrace that change, understand when you are ready, but never stay there. Be ready to push off, just stand tall and take the leap.
Love that. I love the reflection. Immediately, mirror came to my mind, and I truly loved your story, your presence, Josine, and what you have been creating for us, for humans, for this world. It is very valuable, and I will put all the links for our audience to connect with you And also, if you send me the retreat information, I would love to share that too, so people can join you
Thank
as
you. We'll
and
do that.
a lot of retreats. So thank you so much. It
Thank
has
you so much for this conversation. Take care. Bye. Thanks, Berkey. Bye.
bye.